everyone, and welcome back to the A to B podcast, your number one source for military entrepreneurship and entertainment, guys. We are in part 2 with the most Hispanic guy that I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, Rob Martinez, the All Clear Gear CEO. How does that feel, saying that you are a CEO of your own company, bro?
You're like the Puerto Rican Bruce Buffer. I just love it. I mean, I felt like I needed to stand up. I felt like I needed to stand up and be like,
hey, thank you.
You know?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I try to honor the guests that come here. Even though I know I called you a dumbass high school kid in the other podcast. I apologize about that. Me looking back at it, I'm like, damn, I didn't catch the cue, man. I'm sorry. But I blame myself too.
You're not wrong.
I blame myself too because I was a dumbass fucking Puerto Rican kid fucking causing havoc in the island. Okay, so brother, in the last podcast, we were obviously talking about your first 4 years in the Marine Corps. First four and only 4 in the Marine Corps. How your recruiter told you that you were going to be a motor T, and he didn't lie, but you were going to be the mechanic version of the motor T. How your unit was in deployment, and you were in Twin Palms, unattended pretty much.
Yeah.
For your first 7 months, and then you got back, and then you guys can watch part 1 of this episode there. We were starting to get to the juicy stuff. Because obviously what it sounded like, this was all happening towards the middle and later stages of your first enlistment, and you wanted to become a special operator. You wanted to go to MARSOC.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened?
Yeah, so just to recap, it took me 3, I think even 4 times now, I'm recounting, being able to get the okay, the stamp of approval to be able to leave, to get my ship date, if you will. And so I finally ended up leaving, and it was at a time where we ended up having a class size nearly double than the typical size. And I'm a firm believer in everything happening for a reason. I always try to push the envelope. My stepmom has a good saying of like she's always like, I'm so proud of you. Like when the doors close, you always find an open window to crawl through. And I live by that phrase every day. And so I ended up showing up. North Carolina was Stone Bay. And, we were talking like no name tapes, no rank. You got there and you had to sew your candidate number on. I was candidate 075. We had 219 individuals in our class, and there's typically 90 to 100. And so like we were just, taking up all of the space in the squad bays. And first phase was it's kind of as you expect, showing up, and you got the jitters, you don't know what to expect. Everyone there is a top performer. You're with the best of the best. And I was excited to just be in the same room as those guys. It's like I didn't get too much opportunity in the fleet to pursue or even to train. A lot of that was just on my own time, and it was very difficult to make that time. So having left 219 guys, first phase begins. I left with that ankle injury.
Yeah.
I have you can probably still see.
Yeah, I see there's something on the
like a
shit
bone.
don't fucking look right.
Yeah, so I broke my wrist when I knocked that staff sergeant out. So I left with 2 injuries, like actual breaks. And nothing's stopping me. Nothing's stopping me. I got to go. And it was so funny because we're doing mobility stretching out in this field. And I remember standing on like a flamingo on my right ankle, and that was just the most excruciating pain. Every time I got in the push-up position, every time I had to put all of my weight on my right ankle, I just remembering like, this can't be what puts me out. And I went there with a mentality of like, I will die before I quit. Quitting was not in my vocabulary, and it still isn't to this day. And I've tried to maintain that mentality through entrepreneurship too. So,
okay. So what ended up happening? Like, obviously that pain was too bad. You just fell out. I'm guessing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you fell out of probably like one of the hikes or something like that.
No. So I was out of 6 relays. There was about 30 people in each relay for the swim. I was in the fastest relay. I was in the first relay for the swim, which, I mean, I was swimming against guys that swam in college, and just had really competitive times there. I was on the second bus for the ruck runs. My 12-mile ruck was, I think, 2 hours and 33 minutes, which is competitive. It's not, as a matter of fact, I do have a story about the ruck run. And I talked to this guy today. He was one of the individuals that there's this recon challenge every year.
I know.
These guys have to assemble and disassemble a 240 at the bottom of a pool, like just some bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
He had ended up winning that challenge one year, and he was in the same ANS class that I'm in. So that just goes to show you like the level of competence of the individuals that are there.
He was recon?
Yeah, he was a recon guy.
Okay.
There was everybody from force recon, reconnaissance, scout snipers, and there was 3 motor T guys there. Me and 2 other guys. I'm not sure if I was the only mechanic or if there was 2 mechanics and 1 operator, but we had a guy from the silent drill platoon there.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
We had a cook there, and a lot of O3s. And so, this story was every time we would start a run or a ruck run, we'd have to strap this ankle monitor onto us like we're on house arrest. And that way it could, send all of the stats back to the CP.
Okay.
And my relay begins the ruck. And I think this one was like an 8 or a 10 miler. And we begin, and I'm probably 2 miles in, and I just see this guy running past me back to the start.
Already fucking finished?
No, back to the start. I'm running this way. It's 8 miles that way. This guy's running back this way to the start. Turns out, I didn't know this until the very end of our ruck run. He forgot his ankle monitor. So, like I said, I'm 2 miles in. He runs back that way. I probably got to 3 miles. No, probably 3.5 miles, maybe 4. And he runs past me again.
What the
back in that direction. That was one of the guys that won the recon challenge, and he was just a monster. I'm one of those guys.
Yeah, you have to be a fucking monster, dude. I'm
one of those
dead
guys.
mile 2 already.
Yeah. I'm putting. I mean, I was getting blisters in places I didn't think I would ever get blisters.
Yeah.
In between my toes. I'm putting like moleskin in between my toes.
Yeah.
Body glide for all the chafing.
Yeah.
And like we get back, and this dude just got ruck burn all over his back, like open cuts, and I'm like, we good? You good, bro?
I wonder what he's doing in life right now.
So he actually ended up passing and getting selected, but he's got a few daughters, and I think he ended up, because it was going to affect his marriage, ITC, after you complete ANS, he ended up leaving ITC. I'm not too sure if he's going for ODA, Green Beret, but what I do know is that he's focusing on being a father and a husband, and he's.
Well, hey, listen, brother. If you see this podcast, you're more than welcome to sit in that chair and share some of your stories. I know you gotta have some crazy ass freaking stories. So obviously, you went through the ruck. And so at what moment did you get dropped?
So I didn't drop. No, I passed.
You passed?
I passed. I made it all the way through.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So.
Not impressive as in like, okay, because you shouldn't pass, but dude, you got freaking 2 injuries, and you gotta think about it. You gotta do pull-ups, you gotta do like ruck runs, you gotta run, not just run, like run really fast.
Yeah, so I left my initial PFT there. I did 25 pull-ups, and
What year was this? Just to get a reference.
2017.
Okay,
April
gotcha.
of 2017.
Okay.
I left on my wife's 21st birthday.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So.
Oh man.
So initial PFT, 25 pull-ups. I had a 19-minute, 33-second PFT run, a 3-mile run, and you don't do crunches there. Everybody's well aware that you could do 100 crunches.
Okay. So they treat you like men there.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so that's crazy, Marine Corps. You can treat people like men.
I know, believe it or not. And those are the top performers, by the way.
Yeah.
So imagine. And, you get back to the fleet, everybody's chain smoking Marlboro Reds before an 880 on a CFT. And you're like, that just built different. Motor T is built different.
I know. The Motor T is big. I give a lot of shit to Motor T, but I love you guys. I have a lot of friends that are Motor T. Shout out to Angel Flores. He's my favorite Motor T person. One of the best individuals that I've ever met in my life. He retired about 2 years ago. But yeah, man. So you passed.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening?
So phase one, as the end of phase one is coming to a conclusion, by that time, 111 people had either dropped or gotten cut. And so then, what is it, 100 and at that point there was like 106 of us left or something like that. And then we would go on to phase two. And this is where, we signed the non-disclosure agreements where we can't talk about the processes. Phase one, I almost shallow water blacked out in the pool. That was my first exposure to almost dying. I felt like, we do these, it was a workout called beehives. And if you don't know what a beehive is, there's a McQuist instructor, Marine Corps water survival instructor, or however they say it, sits in the middle of the pool, 16 feet deep on a buoy, and everybody's has to get in the pool in full camis. You can wear your goggles or not, and you get in tight to the McQuist instructor, and then the timer starts, and then it's essentially to see who can last and who freaks out. And there's people dropping because it's like,
And do you have to be, or can you do the?
No. You can't even tread. You're chest to back to people in the pool. You can't tread. There's not enough room to tread. So as a matter of fact, it works against you to freak out, rather than if you just stayed there, you would probably you're stuck to the people. So it's like you wouldn't even, you could just stand there. It's pretty wild. And this guy across from me, we actually had something going to where he would pick me up for air, and I would then pick him up for air. And it got to a point where somebody got wedged in between us. I mean, we were right here, we thought we were being slick, and somebody got wedged in between us when it was his turn to come up for air. And I'm like trying to put my head underwater, and I see him struggling, like fighting. And I'm like, oh man. And I just had to make the decision to, I had to move this guy out of the way. I grabbed him, and as I threw him up, I shot down head first. And my thought process was, I'm going to swim out and out into the rear. And I had 3 attempts. I tried to come up, and each time I got kicked back down. And they teach keep your head above your hand above your heads in case you come up for any obstruction.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's other instructors as well. I'm guessing monitoring
outside of the pool.
Yeah.
I believe no. Yeah, outside of the pool. There might have been a couple on the outside on buoys as well. But okay. You're so focused on kind of what's happening. I couldn't tell you. And so the third time I tried coming up, I could see, it's like the movies where you see like the refraction of the water. I'm like reaching up, and I just feel my fingers and everything going numb.
Yeah.
Like starting to curl as I'm trying to come up. And I just feel the back of my blouse just get picked up like that. And I'm like coming out of the water, and I'm like I'm trying to recall what just happened. And I just get shoved back in. And as I get shoved back into the outside of the circle now, and one of the other candidates were there, and he had his hand on my back, and he's pushing me in. And at that point, you
start freaking out.
I was like, get your fucking hands off me. And I'm sure that was these cadre are like, writing everything down. Yeah. And I hope that didn't hinder me, but you never know. And so it was just height of the situation, and the fact that somebody's trying to be slimy and just skate by, it's like where I was in the middle of everything, and just came from that situation. So the pool concludes that day. I'll fast forward. Second phase, I can't go into depth on the scenarios that we
Yeah.
had to deal with or anything like that. But there's a situation where we had to carry a lot of weight for a certain amount of distance, and the majority of my element was carrying the majority of the weight ahead of me and one other guy. Me and that one other guy were carrying a lot of weight on top of our rucks, and since it was just him and I, and it was a smaller structure, if you will, as we walked up to the back of, we would keep catching up. We kept catching up to the larger element because they were moving slower. They didn't do it, correctly. So we were paying for it, and it just took us longer to get to where we needed to get to. And every time we would catch up to the back of this element, we would kind of like, we're standing up, this thing's on the back of our rucks, and we'd put our hands on our knees, and we'd kind of like lean over a little bit to kind of relieve some of that weight. And each time we did that, my teammate would get lower and lower and lower. And finally, at one point, I looked at him and I was like, "Hey man, you're going to drop that thing." And as soon as I said that, his head, he lets it go, and it comes off, it hits him in the head, and all that weight comes down on me, and it knocks me in the head. And I don't know, to this day, I don't know how I did it, but I almost like sprawl when somebody tries to shoot for your legs. I sprawled backwards, and the contraption came down and hit the pavement, and that could have been my head, And so everyone paused. They checked in on me. I was like, "Yeah, I'm good to go." And to this day, I mean, that guy ended up getting selected, and to rewind, he trained with me a couple of times at 29 Palms, just to help match pace for these ruck runs. And each time that we trained, this is nothing against him, but he was like, "Bro, like, we need to take breaks." And I'm like, "We need to keep going, you need to build stamina, because we're going to be doing more than this." You know what I'm saying? But there's just these people that get through this selection process that you're like, sure, it's not all physical ability. Yeah, of course not. There's psych evals, there's peer evals, which at the very end of the selection, hey, people in the squad bay, come outside. You guys are the non-selects. People in this squad bay, you guys are going to get body, height, weight. You're going to be attached to a nutritionist. You're going to get workout plans. Like, it was like, it's the dream for, like wanting to be a GI Joe, essentially.
Yeah.
And I had walked through that squad bay of the guys that had gotten selected, and everybody that was in there was like, "Dude, how are you not in here with us right now?" And for me, that was even more affirmation as to like, I don't know. It was affirmation to my misunderstanding.
Let me ask you this though, because you give me a feeling that you have been through a transformation in your life from who you were to who you are now.
100%.
Okay, so back then, would you say that even though you might not have been as vocal about it, maybe you were giving off like I don't know, like facial expressions, things like that, like frustration, like you can, even though you might not be like, "Man, fuck," something like that you will let your frustrations know throughout other means, maybe back then?
I was, at the time, I mean, I was physically capable. I wasn't an individual that would get stressed out in situations. I would think, looking back, what I've chalked it up to, is that what we're getting at? What I've chalked it up to, for my own understanding, just so I can like go through each day, is there were seasons in my life prior, like you said, I've 180 transformation, where I wasn't faithful to those seasons, such as when I was a mechanic, where if I would have stuck it out and endured what I was supposed to and learned everything I was supposed to and just shut up and colored like they wanted me to, I could have gone into that next season with the mindset and the skills from the prior season of like, confidence in my field. You know what I'm saying? Like every team needs a competent mechanic, a trail mechanic, because you go out on these missions, something breaks down, that person needs to be able to fix that. I went through multiple basic machine gunners courses. I went through a sniper in doc. I went through a system selection. Like everything that I wanted to do, I tried to go do. I wasn't faithful to the seasons prior. I had a problem with respecting authority when I was in. That showed through. I'm sure paperwork at some point in time got passed to the cadre. You know. So yeah, in terms of like, you know, why I didn't get selected. You know, when I was brought into the male restroom, we're sitting at a desk against the wall. The guy in full sleeves, and he's telling me like, "Hey, bro, so how do you think you did?" And I'm like, "Well, I thought I did good, you know. I passed every single event. I found 12 out of my 13 land nav points, you know. And as a diesel mechanic, like, you know, I thought I was pretty good, but it just came down to, for me personally, like, I just think in that season, that wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I think maybe that there could have been a training accident that I would have been involved in. I could have been killed on the first mission. And to be frank, I wouldn't have my 3 kids that I have now. I wouldn't be married to the most amazing woman that's kept me alive.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have this business where I have the opportunity to impact hundreds of thousands of Marines, whereas I was selfishly seeking for myself.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about that, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously, in order for you to go through all that training, you need to drink the Kool-Aid, bro. Like, the Kool-Aid is deep with the people that go to those type of situations, right? Maybe at the beginning. Maybe once you're like part of a team, maybe all that stuff dies down or whatever, right? Maybe, I don't know. I've never interviewed a Marshall guy, even though I know a couple of them. But what led you from like, okay, I didn't get selected, to now it's like, okay, well, let me at least try to lab move into a different MOS. Let me try to stay in the Marine Corps. What led you to actually trying to transition outside of the Marine Corps and not wanting to do another 4 at least?
So before I left for ANS, I had 3 opportunities. Since I was playing for the 29 Palms base team, soccer team, I could have left and tried out for the all-Marine team. My coach was pressing for it, but I had my ankle injury, and so I thought that was going to be short-lived. Every time I went to kick a ball, it hurt. And the second thing was to deploy again, or third thing was to go to ANS. And for me, that was what I was going to regret the most. When I had gotten back, when I had left for ANS, I told my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, I said, if I don't get selected for some reason, because I know I'm going to finish, I'll get out. I'll get out. We'll start our life together, and we'll move forward. And I got back, and when I got back, I had a bitterness in my heart towards the Marine Corps. Nothing that shines out today. You know, everyone has gone through their experiences when they're in, but that career planner that I talked to had brought up recon, and I had never talked to any recon guys except for when I was in Kuwait, and I saw those guys were wearing different issued boots, and I was like, those look like sneakers. I want to wear those. And if somebody would have just guided me, how much more could I have done, you know?
For the Marine Corps?
For the Marine Corps, yeah. I just think of myself as, you know,
so you feel asset. If somebody would have talked to you, you feel if somebody would have guided you, maybe listen to what you really wanted, you would still be in the Marine Corps?
I think there was such a lack of mentorship when you're in. You're so narrowed in on your job performance, the rank that you're wearing. There's no, how are you doing today, bro? There's none of that. There's no like, hey, I see that you're performing in these areas and not in these areas. Let's push you in this direction. There's none of that. There's no guidance in that area.
Yeah, and not only that, it's like some people think that just because you do a job very well, that you want to be doing that job for the rest of your career. You know, and because for me at least, it's just a matter of pride. I take pride in the product that I deliver. And just because I might not like something doesn't mean that I'm gonna do it badly. Just because I don't like, because I still want to put out a good product. And there's a lot of Marines like that as well. That people think, oh well, you do your job correctly, but dude, listen, like I get it. That's because of a pride thing. That's not because I enjoy actually doing this. At least, and I don't see myself doing this for the rest of my life.
Right.
So people gotta understand that. Like leaders gotta understand that, and I agree with you 100%. They need to have those conversations. Okay, so what do you want? How do you see your career?
Exactly. Because although I chose to join, and the moment I signed, nothing, very little went my way, and I'm not somebody. I'm not throwing a temper tantrum, but at the same point in time, it's like, I didn't perform in school because I didn't have a goal. Like I was just there, I was always in trouble because that was the only freedom I had, being restricted until I left for my senior year. It's like, of course you're going to get in trouble. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, and even to this moment, right? You've mentioned a couple of things that you've learned from your Marine Corps career that have helped you in entrepreneurship and being a successful veteran or business owner. But bro, nothing you haven't said like this was the moment that I thought of all clear gear.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk. Let's start talking about that, right? It's like, okay, so ANS is a Motor T. ANS didn't get selected. Decided to get out of the Marine Corps. At what point of time does all clear gear goes into existence?
So you remember TRS?
100%, yes.
In TRS, we had an opportunity to either do a resume or to start a business. And at that time, I was a month into marijuana cultivation college, an online college. And I had thought to myself, like, I think I want to explore this. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. I came up with a name that I made T-shirts.
What's the name?
Red, White, and Baked.
Okay.
And I sold 14 T-shirts in my class.
Okay.
I pitched it as like, we're gonna be farmers. We're gonna grow this stuff, and it's gonna be medicinal purposes and yada yada. I learned that later on down the road it would be millions of dollars to even start. So that crashed and burned. But I had been out of the Marine Corps for a year and a half at this point in time. It was mid 2018. And this is where the story really begins. That year and a half of being out, trying to pursue law enforcement, then realizing I was going to have a kid, and that being a complete stop, having to move back home from Florida to California. I lived on a construction site for 3 months where I lived in a trailer that didn't have running water or sewage, just so that I could live for free while I performed security for this company that one of their guys had a camper there.
Wow.
The guy had used the entire front half of the camper for his storage. So it's like I had an Xbox and I was good. It's like I did my security. I'd get off at 4:00 in the morning. I'd go hygiene and work out at the gym. And then that's the life that I lived for 3 months. And then I finally moved into the duplex that we're currently in now, out in Orange. And when we moved in, my girlfriend at the time, super pregnant. We stayed on an air mattress. Like, we lived on an air mattress. We didn't have lights in our living room and in our kitchen. We had a ceiling fan in our kitchen. We didn't have AC, heat for first year.
Was this here in California?
It's here in California, yeah.
What part?
In Orange. City of Orange.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And I just remember the air mattress deflating all throughout the night, having to wake up.
In the middle? Both of you guys in the middle?
Bro, it's terrible. I feel so bad for her. And I always look back and I'm like, man, I want you to know that my intentions were to treat you as good as I could. I just had nothing.
Yeah.
And I got out of the Marine Corps. We kind of glazed over that. But when I got out, I was in debt. I had collections coming after me for a cell phone that I didn't transfer to another company before I deployed. Yeah, I had a vehicle payment that I couldn't keep up with anymore. Yeah, I had no savings. And the day I found out that I could get out because I had terminal saved up, 1600 struck. Somebody's phone alarm went off in the office in S1. And I said, so I can get out today. And they're like, well, technically it's 1600. You're going to have to come back tomorrow at 7:00. I said, good to go. Went to my room, packed up my room, and I was out the next day.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I want to say something before. Do you just heard his testimony basically, dude, like of how rough his transition was, right? Like what I want to know is how many of our followers have been in similar situations like that. You know, like I really want to know is like how was your transition outside of the military? Was it as rough? Was it worse? Was it a little bit better? And if it was a little bit better, or even if it was worse, tell me now looking back in the position that you are in your life right now, and what made it better, or what could you have done better in order for you to be in a better situation in life? Let me know, man, because that's just rough, dude. That's just rough. Honestly, brother, I cannot relate to that, man. Like I cannot relate to the I know that there's a lot of people that transition that way, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I couldn't see myself like going through that transition,
Yeah.
and that just speaks more volumes into becoming your own freaking boss and your own CEO. So
that was after freedom.
yeah, but at the same time, you have a different kind of power that I don't have. You know what rock bottom looks like. You know what, because I look at my rock bottom, and my rock bottom for me was when my wife called me and I was on deployment and she said that she had no food, but I was still in. So I already knew that I had another paycheck, that all I have to wait was at the worst 10 to 12 days. And my wife was going to have another paycheck, and then things were going to be kind of all right. Okay, that's my rock bottom. And I promised my wife, kind of very similar to what you told your wife, like we will never again will be in this situation ever again. That was my rock bottom. Yours, bro, I cannot even imagine being in that position of like you having all those things and no paycheck coming in, like none of that stuff coming in. Bro, how? Like how? Like honestly, how? Like I really want to know. Because
Yeah.
I want people to hear through the camera. If you want to talk directly to the camera, you can. Like how, what was going through your mind to have you keep going?
I think it was the same mentality that I had going through ANS, and it was just there's that survival of like, just falling down and getting back up, and this isn't it. This isn't it. This isn't the end. And so that just segues straight into why I started All Clear Gear. Halfway through 2018, that year and a half of being out, I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of buddies to suicide, a few to freak accidents, guys that I served directly with, people that I had shaken hands with at some point in time and got to know them on a surface level. And it reached a point for me where these people that I would once speak to, I would see their Facebook posts come up about their obituaries, about funerals that are coming up for them. And it hit one time there was 1 week on Facebook where I had seen 2 come through on my feed, and I wasn't even responding to family members at that time. I was just, I don't know if numb is the right term there, but I couldn't focus on that. I was dealing with all of my own struggles that I reached a point where I told my wife, I was like, we got to get out of the house. Like, we got to go for a walk. And I was just like thinking in my own head, I was like, there's been enough death this past year. Is this just something that, am I going to be next? And hold on a second.
No, take your time, man. Take your time.
I just remember being on that walk, and at the time I wasn't like pursuing my relationship with Christ, but I remember asking him, I was like, God, as one person, what can I do to help set these guys up for success? Because when I got out, I didn't, this is where I am, you know, and I've just lost a lot of my buddies. We can cut this out. That'd be cool. And I had this vision come to me where I saw Jesus like washing the feet of his disciples, and how it transferred over into modern day time was I had seen myself cleaning gear for these guys that were transitioning. And there's a level of humor to it, because at the time I was like, there's no way. Like, you want me to clean SIF gear? You know, like, I hated doing that when I was in. It took me 4 times of going back and forth. I spent money on gear that I was missing, that there was no way I was even missing it, you know? Stuff that they're saying that I was issued, but I didn't have. And that even put me into a deeper hole when I was transitioning out. And it just clicked that this is where I find purpose. It's not serving myself like I wanted to do throughout my entire career. It's now, and it's serving others. And this is the way that I was going to be able to do it.
Wow.
So,
Brother.
yeah, sorry about that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that, man. And I'm gonna tell you this, man. This is the reality that a lot of people don't see of the struggles of what it really means for you to become a business owner. A lot of people, and obviously for some it's easier than others. For you, that you came from zero, this is the reason why your company is going to succeed, and it's succeeding, right? Because people see that. And me specifically, whenever I buy a product nowadays, I'm looking into, man, like, who's the one selling the product, right? And I look at you, dude, and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely something that I want to support, you know? Question. So obviously that vision came to you. You were on that walk. How did it start to take structure? Like, did you do a business plan right at the beginning? Did you just say, like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna put this services on Facebook? Like, how was it?
So immediately, unlike any of the other business ideas that I had leading up to it, because my thought was I need to make money.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't making money. My thoughts were, I'm not going to make merch. You know, there's no reason to go make merch. And as a matter of fact, on that walk, the same walk, my wife, she helped me come up with the name All Clear Gear. And it was just so God sent. Like, I just
Nice.
can't explain it more than that.
Wow,
God.
that's awesome.
And I went back home and I immediately started writing out all of the constraints, all of the issues that we dealt with as service members. And then it's like, if I were to take someone's gear, I know that that's $6,600 worth of their equipment that I am now responsible for. If I misplace one item of that pack, I'm out of business.
Yeah,
I have
literally.
no money. At that time, I knew that 29 Palm, I was familiar with 29 Palms. I would drive 2.5 hours one way to solicit myself in my personal vehicle, because I still had base access with my VA card, for one pack. And I would drive 2.5 hours. I would drive 2.5 hours back. And for the first 3-ish years, I pressure washed, you know? I mean, I
So
did,
you have, because I'm thinking, bro, like, I'm looking from the outside in, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man, this guy's got to have machines, all that stuff. So you literally pressure wash it yourself and like that, like you clean it, like literally scrub.
Yeah, I had drill attachments from like a tool bag that I got for Christmas. Um, I would go through soaking methods. We were drying everything outside under the sun, um, and each pack would take upwards of 7 hours to complete.
Wow.
And my very first price point was $350, and it was just to help cover the cost of everything. And
Yeah.
after looking back, I didn't make money. I mean, as a matter of fact, it wasn't until March of last year where we finally became profitable. Profitable.
So a lot of things that a lot of business owners don't look, or a lot of people that are trying to open up business don't look. What is their break even point? And they tend to undercharge because they don't understand how much do they truly need to charge, and then they shoot themselves in the foot because now be like, oh man, dude, I'm not paying that much. I paid you whatever, however much amount. So it's good that you learned those lessons and you survived those lessons first of all, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to hear that now you are a profitable business, you know. Okay, so you're literally pressure like at the beginning. Do you have machines now and all that stuff, or do you still do it? Do you still do it all by pressure washing and like all that stuff?
Yeah, the pressure washing days are long gone.
Okay, got you.
We've moved into, we're all indoors now.
Nice.
And so we use some commercial equipment,
Okay.
but at that same point in time, without getting into the process,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
just understand that what we do at the highest level of quality and with the intent of providing efficiency in a sense of volume, because we deal with 10 plus packs a week now.
Wow, that's amazing.
Where in
to
my
hear,
first
dude.
year, I think I did 2 or 3 in my first year.
Wow.
And so again, just in terms of quality, providing longevity for the equipment, the goal is to not only benefit the service member with their turnaround, so that they're not going back and forth, which
Yeah.
on average right now it's 3 times. It's also for the base.
I fucking
It's
hate
for
SIF.
SIF. It's for you guys. First time I'll look at the camera and speak. It's for you guys. This process was developed, of course, to make it easier on the Marines and sailors. Those are my boys. That's why for 4 years we weren't profitable. I was doing this because these guys needed the help. You know, I wasn't a business guy.
Yeah.
You know, entrepreneur, sure, but a lot of it was just due to ignorance. You know, I just didn't understand that. You know, you pay me $150 is what I ended up dropping the price to after at the first 6 months to get traction. Like, you want me to give you my gear? Yeah, right, bro. Good luck. I got laughed at when I asked people about taking their gear and cleaning it. They're like, bro, if you misplace my iPro, like,
Yeah, you're down.
Yeah.
Your Kevlar, your sappy plates. Fuck the iPro.
Bro.
Your Kevlars. Oh, I mean, what the hell do you really do with the sappy plates? But
so we don't touch sappy plates. That's that level of serialized gear. To be frank, like,
and it
that
really
stuff
doesn't get that dirty.
cleaned.
Yeah, it doesn't need to get clean. But the attachments on the and I don't think you returned the attachments though, right? On the Kevlar.
So now they've got the high cuts that are being issued out.
Okay.
When you were in, they're probably like the Gen 1, like the buckets. But now they got the Gen 2.
I only got out in 2023. Let me
okay, so you
let
had
me
the
make that very
ECHs.
clear.
You had
Okay, you're
the
talking
ECH.
like I got out in 1979. Okay,
You guys were still pedaling the Humvees.
okay. So time out. Okay, so it's very interesting to hear those. So you went from power washing and now you have the highest quality. What is your current turnaround times?
So we have 3 turnaround times:
Okay.
7 days,
Okay.
3 days, and 5 days. Friday to Friday, Friday to Monday, and Monday to Friday. And it's set up that way as a business. It's how, logistically, me being an hour away from the base, because I service Camp Pendleton personally. I have a guy out in 29 Palms that's still loyal. He's been loyal to me for years now. He still handles the cleanings out there, actually with his methods. until we can get him set up with our full process. He handles maybe one a month, but you know,
So the majority of your business is here in Camp Pendleton.
yeah.
Miramar.
We've built an incredible brand through Pendleton, and that's my vision included us establishing a rapport with Pendleton to where that would be where our flagship location is.
Okay. What about scaling? Have you thought about, because obviously you just became, now you're just thanking God that you're profitable now, right? So what has been your thought process on scaling your business? Maybe to other locations, let's say Yuma, let's say Kamloops, let's say maybe even Army bases. Now that you have the processes in place in order for you to be able to replicate what you do.
Right. So in terms of board games, you know, I've been playing chess for 5 years now, and anybody else that's doing what I've been doing started later, and they've been playing checkers. So
Is there people that still doing it? You're the only one that I hear.
there's a couple people out there that have since started what I've and tried to replicate what I do.
Okay.
Even from website operations. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny to, you know, I'm not, again, you know, this goes back to that level of like, I don't need to stoop down and to you know, to keep tabs. Like, we're the price leaders. We're the best at what we do. We have the highest pass rate, 99% pass rate. We guarantee our cleaning. So if for some reason something's not clean, which SIF's going to be SIF, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny because and we would take that back, we would clean it, and we would get it back to you.
I like the fact that
extra
you
charge.
give like a tag, and then now Civ knows. It's like, okay, time out. Give me a second. You know, that's really good. What about franchising?
Yeah, so I want to own this. I'm a sole proprietor in this. I have 100% equity in the company. I've over the last few years, I've actually tried to bring people in as equity holders, and by the grace of God, that was another door that was closed, just in terms of protecting me, because what I have and what I've been building, you know, again, I've been after that freedom aspect, you know, and I want to be able to make the decisions. Of course, there's levels to this game, and I seek counsel where I see its best fit, not as much as I should. But in terms of franchising, in terms of scalability, in terms of all of that stuff, it starts with where I'm currently at right now, and I cannot go into it. But as of the last 30 days, as of the last 90 days, we've been making leaps and bounds in terms of rapport with Pendleton.
Okay, that's really good, man. I'm glad to hear it. Hopefully you get like a contract, like a government contract, to where just Marines turn it over to you, and then you turn it over. Dude, that would be so amazing. Sergeant Major Reese, freaking Commandant of the Marine Corps. Hey, Pete Segwet, what's his name? The new Secretary of Defense?
It's Pete something.
Well, Pete is Hexec. Yeah, Pete Hexec. Listen, this guy is a veteran that y'all need to get in contact with, and y'all really, really, really need to afford him the opportunity for him to offer his service to not only the Marine Corps, but all military service members. Because think about the impact that this will have on an Army base, dude. You know, so that way you can maybe, I don't know, sell your processes and procedures that you do to ensure the cleanliness of these products through that stuff. And then now, dude, I'm telling you, this has a lot. I think this has a lot of potential. I'm extremely happy that this is going on for you, brother.
There is so much happening behind the scenes that we would have to speak about off camera that you would just be blown away about. And that's the part that I'm excited about. And the content game aspect of this, what I've been doing on social media the last 5 years, we just crossed 10K. I know I've mentioned that.
Yeah.
But this is the very beginning. You know, the last 6 months, I've been called 2 times. I've been called the Mr. Beast of the military, and I know those are big shoes to fill. But we've got some exciting raffles and giveaways coming up, and the past 2 raffles that we've done, and every one to come after, I'm going to be raffling off for $1. Every single thing we do, all the way up to vehicles.
Oh, wow.
Vehicles, freaking anything you could imagine.
Wow.
And so I'm really excited to get to that. But you mentioned Sergeant Major Ruiz, the Commandant. I actually had the honor of receiving a response back after 4 years. If you look at our messages between,
I think I saw that. Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah, and he responded back to my comment from another guy on Instagram.
Oh yeah, you posted on your stories.
Yeah,
I think it was where I saw it. Okay.
And he mentioned that they're working on it, and man, he's got to be the next busiest guy to Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just commend him for everything that he's doing, especially for our Corps. I know he's got incredible intentions, but at some point you have to bring in subject matter experts. And I've put my life on hold to start this business, from zero. And I believe that we are going to be either working hand in hand with CIF or becoming CIF. So instead of CIF, we're going to be ACG, all clear gear. You're going to bring your gear. It can be dirty. It can be damaged. It could be missing. And you sign here. You get your signature for your checkout sheet to complete at your appointment. There's no going back and forth multiple times. You bring it, you throw it up there. It's all dirty. As long as it's all accounted for, you take off. If you're missing items, you sign here. Our company, I have multiple suppliers now that can cover gear for you at cheaper rates than CIF, by the way. Of course, we have to make a little bit of money so we can invest it into the next piece of gear.
Yeah.
But all of my prices beat CIF's prices, and you don't have to
anything is gonna beat CIF. Anything is gonna beat CIF.
Yeah.
Because what happens, I'm gonna tell you, and there's no way of me knowing this, but allegedly, right? Dude, like, you gotta think about CIF is just another contract. So those people are what they're going to do. What they're going to do is they get those contracts and then they rip off the government. It's been going on for years. Like, that's the reason why we voted for what we voted, by the way, is because companies like this have been ripping us off for years.
Contractors in general, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you have to imagine, I'm some kid coming from Kissimmee, Florida.
Yeah.
Trying to wedge a gap in this well-oiled machine that has been sucking the life out of the military. Budget cuts are at an all-time high. School of Infantry West about to receive another budget cut. They've only received a couple $1 million out of their $5 million plan. Like, they can't afford. I'm not going to get into all that, but I wanted to say something about. There's a couple people over at the CIF facilities. I'm not going to go into any specifics there, but I had a conversation with one of those people the other day, and I said to them, they had mentioned to me, hey, like, please don't throw shade at us on social media. And I said, look, you have to understand that it is not aimed at the individual here. I'm after the organization. Mm-hmm. The organization gets all of their stuff from the MEF. And that's where I hope that this video reaches somebody there. I'm after decision makers. Let's have 30 minutes. Let's sit down. Let's talk. You need to see what I've done thus far, past performance, whatever you need to see, proof of concept. And we need to move forward in providing solutions. If you're going to have these unrealistic expectations for these guys, these unrealistic standards, they show up, they ask, like, then how do you recommend cleaning this? I can't tell you, it's a liability. Then what do you want me to do? There's a drop of water in your canteen, come back tomorrow. You can't just put it upside down on a rack over there that might be made for holding canteens for it to dry. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's such a lack of common sense that this uphill battle that I've been fighting for the past 5-6 years now, it's to the point where it's like, I have to persevere. There's too many people counting on it at this point.
And I'm just going to say this. CIF, or IF, as it's called now, right?
Yeah.
It's amongst my least favorite people in the entire Marine Corps.
It's like the DMV of the military.
Yes, I'm probably worse at the DMV. I got lucky the last time that I did, because I already had like a TikTok, and the person that took care of me already have seen me from TikTok, and they took it easy on me.
Nice.
But when I was a fucking nobody, well, I'm not saying that I'm a somebody right now, but when I was a fucking a corporal for the first time, I remember, dude, I was so stressed out because SIF was the very last signature that I needed, and those motherfuckers will not give me my signature, and they turn me away like 3 or 4 times. And the problem is that it's not just turning you away and be like, oh yeah, and by the way, like you'll get first priority access. No, you have to get there at freaking 6 o'clock in the morning if you really don't want to make a fucking 4 or 5 hour line.
You know.
Like, this is ridiculous. I wish that there was a study, and you probably could do this. I wish there was a study on the amount of money that get lost of Marines, because and here's the thing, whenever you get a brand new PFC into your unit that you have to give him SIFT, the PFC ain't going there by himself. He's going there with either his sergeant, his staff sergeant, and both of them are being there. Both, or even three of them, are being there for like hours on end. Mm-hmm. So imagine the amount of money that the government is wasting on every single day for, let's say, 3 days, a Marine being there for like 3 or 4 hours a day.
And so it takes 2 days to 2 weeks to clean your own gear on average. And so and that came to me when I created this business, is like, man, I remember it took me 4 times to turn in, and it took me 7 days of going back and forth, trying to soak it in my shower, yada, yada. And so I saw that as an opportunity to provide these guys that are transitioning with the most valuable thing. I could give them $1,000, and who knows what they would go do. They'd probably stop at McDonald's. They'd get the new PS5, whatever they want to do. But if I say, hey, here's 3 days, here's 5 days, here's 7 days to go focus on everything else. The rest of your checkout sheet, your move across country, where you're going to be going to school, where your kids are going to go to daycare, if you're going to be buying or renting a property. Mm-hmm. There's 1,000,010 things that they could be doing aside from cleaning their gear. Yeah. I believe that every service member, as soon as you sign that contract, that gear, of course, you're supposed to be responsible for it while you're in. You take care of your weapon, you take care of your mind, you take care of your body, your gear. It's going to take care of you. When you go to transition, you're not responsible for that anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have the resources, you don't have the time, you don't have the tools, you don't have the knowledge. The stuff that I keep saying over and over again, and the stuff that I'll keep saying over and over again, because it's opportunities like this that give me the floor to speak and to be able to reach multiple people at once. And I hope Sergeant Major Ruiz sees this.
Well, I'm definitely gonna be chopping a couple of these into smaller pieces, so that way they see them. I think I am about 70% sure that Sergeant Major Ruiz sees the podcast, or at least portions of the podcast.
Is he Spaniard?
I know he's definitely not Spaniard. He's the Mexican Spaniard.
Okay,
he's the Mexican type of Spaniard. But yeah, no, I know that either he has seen the podcast or his Comstrap people have seen the podcast. So yeah, man. Hopefully, man, a lot of people see this, and I'm gonna tell you this, dude. You don't even, with the way that you're going, I don't think that you really, and the drive that you have, let me add that as well. I don't think that you need this podcast or any other podcast for you to be successful, brother. I think that you're doing that completely on your own. I just want you to know that you have a supporter here, brother. If we can find any type of way of collaborating in these raffle things that you're doing, or whatever it is that you're doing, brother, let me know, and I'll gladly help you out. Okay. I want to thank you for coming in, Rob. Thank you so much for being so open. Thank you so much for sharing some of the uncomfortable things of the entrepreneur world that you discovered. I should rather say. Where can people reach out to you at?
I mean, I leave my company number on every yellow tag that I strap to every cleaning that we do, that we certify. But if you're a civilian and you support the military, or if you're in the military, you don't even have to be in the Marine Corps. It's a matter of time before we service every branch. But All Clear Gear on every platform. allcleargear.com is our website. I mean, that's where you can find us. I engage with everybody. I'm not one of these these influencers that sit on a high horse that think that I'm better than anybody else. You've heard my story. I'm just like you, just trying to make it, provide for my family, change systems and processes that have been broken for decades. And I know that the reward will come in the end. But as of right now, the reward is weekly for me. And it's seeing these guys that are already more set up for success than I was. And if I have the opportunity to lay hands on them and pray for them before they're, before they take their gear and they head out, that's a plus for me. And, that's enough reward. So yeah.
And it's not even about that. It's about that, that if they're going through the SIF process, they have a big change to their life coming through. And the best thing that we can do is, like you said, pray for them and wish them the best in whatever comes where they'll be transitioning, where they'll be a new duty station, where they'll be going to school, where they'll be starting their own business.
Yeah.
We want to wish them, and we want to see veterans succeed at every stage of their life,
And I love, sorry to interject.
No, go ahead.
I love talking business. And I wasn't about business before, but it's what makes the world go round. And if you're a veteran business owner or you're a veteran entrepreneur or you're trying to get into business, I mean, let's connect. If at all we can collaborate, like Albert was talking about. And if I can plug something real quick, we're working on a Back Our Heroes campaign where you, as a business entity, nonprofit organization, even as an individual, whether you've been successful or not, and you'd like to sponsor a cleaning for one of these Marines or sailors that are transitioning, you can pay for their cleaning, and we will recognize you via a social media testimony so that you will receive that credit. And it's not like one of those things. It's like where like you can sponsor a tiger in Malaysia, and it's like, oh, he's getting fed every day. It's like we're feeding the real beasts out here, and it's relieving that financial burden that they also are struggling with on the way out too.
Is that made already? Do you have a QR code or whatever?
We have a GoFundMe that's up for it right now. That's kind of how we're rolling.
Pass me the information. I'll put it in the video for the people. Okay.
I appreciate that.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys like, follow, subscribe, hit that notification bell button so that way you get the most up-to-date information whenever it comes to the A to B podcast. Make sure that you guys leave a comment. Any type of feedback that you guys have for Rob, any type of feedback that you guys have for myself, let me know, guys. Remember, as always, the A to B podcast is brought to you guys by Ramos Capital. This is my company, and it's also No Bull Fitness, which is Barry's company for fitness. So let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments. Feel free to connect with me. Go on all of my social media, Ramos_Capital. Go to the link in my bio, schedule a call with me, and I promise that I will set you up in the best position for you to succeed. I'll see you guys in the next one.